And finally, for the questions to the report, I want to read the letter from Gillian to your counselors. And please nominate Jillian R. Feiner to the position of Associate Justice to the report. Sincerely, Maureen T. Attorney Feiner, would you like to introduce the folks who brought?
I would love to. I'll start with my family. I live in Colorado. Mother Helen, my daughters, Talia, very close family friend with their daughter, Emily, and the first. My witnesses and my brother, Linda, he's in the corner. My witnesses, Joanne Peterson and Sandy Alessandra, and Sarah Cable, and the people.
Let's hear from the first witness or the nomination. Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Joanne Peterson, and I'm honored to speak today in support of Gillian Feiner's nomination for the board. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit statewide family support network I established in 2004. For over 2 decades, I support and sources of home families affected by substance abuse across. As the Department of Public Health, our organization also distributes life-saving nasal naloxone. I founded Learn to Cope in response to a crisis that quietly entered home.
At the time, Learn to Cope had 500 members. Today, we serve thousands, and I've stopped counting the funerals we attend and the families we consult. Just this month, 3 members from different
Thousands of children are now apparently
families raising children, seniors on fixed incomes, and individuals navigating grief and trauma. My own niece died of an overdose in 2018. The same year, Attorney General Laura Gillian announced lawsuits against Purdue, the Sackler family, and other manufacturers and distributors. That announcement was long awaited. It was then that I met Gillian Feiner and a team of dedicated attorneys. And from the beginning, Gillian demonstrated unwavering commitment to justice. She worked tirelessly to build strong cases against Purdue Pharma, the Sacklers, and others. She never backed down, and her work was rooted in compassion and deep understanding of the pain families like mine have endured. She, along with her team, visited many of our Learn to Cope chapters and quietly listened as people explained what they were experiencing in their journey. Gillian personally reached out to families, including myself. She treated each of us with empathy, kindness, and respect, qualities that are rare in a world where stigma often overshadows support. She kept us informed, helping us understand developments in the cases and easing people's trauma. Her victories have led to billions in settlements. More importantly, the public disclosure of internal documents exposed the greed and disregard for human life that fueled the crisis. I quote Richard Sackler: "The launch of OxyContin will be followed by a blizzard of prescriptions that will bury the competition." And another quote, which was exposed: "We have to hammer on abusers in every way possible. They are the culprits and the problem. They are reckless criminals." These criminals were often children recovering from wisdom teeth removal, individuals having simple surgeries or sports injuries, and were prescribed 80 milligram pills for a broken bone, unaware that taking it every 4 hours could be a death sentence or a journey into a life of hardship for families and for that person. Thanks to Gillian Feiner, There is now accountability. The funds distributed to Massachusetts are being used as we speak to help those affected by this crisis. To people like me every day, every dollar represents a life shattered. This is sacred money. Gillian is a brilliant light in the pursuit of justice. If chosen, she will honor the law, treat victims and defendants fairly, and continue her life of public service. I wholeheartedly support her nomination, and I have witnessed her dedication firsthand and will always be forever grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from counselors? No. And I thank you for all your work and for your testimony today.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Thank you. I believe you have a second witness in support of the nomination.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Sandy Alexander. It's an honor to testify about Gillian Feiner. I've practiced law in Massachusetts since 2007, and the hardest and most important work I've been a part of was the 4 years I spent on Gillian's team in the Attorney General's office. In this brief testimony, I'd just like to share 3 observations about Gillian. First, Gillian respects her work. She does the hard work to understand a case and to meet her responsibilities in an extraordinary way. To learn how the people of Massachusetts were hurt in the opioid crisis, Gillian's team built our case from the bottom up, starting with 11,000 death certificates. In our office, we had every individual name on the wall. Gillian met with families, advocates, and survivors to learn exactly what our communities were facing. We learned how so many people were put on dangerous drugs at higher and higher doses with worse and worse consequences, and what that meant in our state. To learn how companies caused the crisis, we followed the evidence all the way to the individual executives who made the decisions, even if they were so high up in the companies that no one else had ever sued them before. To make sure the public learned the truth, Gillian won motions to unseal evidence that everyone else had allowed to be kept secret for decades. And then she got court orders to require the companies to publish millions of pages of evidence online. And to make sure the penalties paid in these cases help our communities, Gillian negotiated agreements to share the funding with every Massachusetts city and town. And she wrote a law that was enacted by our legislature to create an opioid recovery fund that is a model for the nation. The quality of Gillian's work amazes me. Second, Gillian respects everyone in the courtroom. What makes Gillian special is not only being hardworking and smart. A very important part of Gillian's character is the way she treats everyone with respect. On our team, Gillian inspired everyone to contribute our best ideas. People worked weekend after weekend because the team had the right direction and everyone's work was valued. Beyond our team, Gillian treated everyone in the case with respect. That includes lawyers, people who got involved in our case from all over the state. It also includes the people we sued, whose companies we bankrupted, whose terrible misconduct we uncovered. Gillian always treated them with fairness and respect. Third and finally, Gillian is respected and admired. When you're in court, you can tell how everyone feels about the judge. I remember the first trials I worked on as a young lawyer. They went on for weeks. Everyone was exhausted. The parties were angry at each other. But when the judge walks in and everyone stands, sometimes you can feel it in the room that everyone respects the judge. You can tell that people who disagree about almost everything admire the judge who is presiding over their case. Gillian will be that kind of judge. When I worked with Gillian, I felt happy day after day because we were part of something special, doing the right thing the right way. And today, I feel happy to be here with you because Gillian will be a great judge. Thank you.
Any questions from counselors?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any witnesses opposed to the nomination? Then we'll hear from the nominee.
Thank you. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to Governor Healy and to Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for nominating me, to the governor's team, General Counsel Jesse Boodoo and Deputy General Counsel Derek Hesselheim for their support over the last several weeks, to Sonia Altamirano and her team for shepherding me through this process so seamlessly, and to each of you for the thoughtful consideration that you've been giving to my nomination. I appreciate all the time you've spent getting to know me and evaluating my fitness for this important role. I'd also like to thank the members of my family here with me today, my husband, Carl, my two daughters, Talia and Ivy, my mother, Helen, my brother, Len, and Emily Santiago Preachers, who's become like a third daughter to me. I really wouldn't have gotten here without their love, support, and patience, so thank you. I was born in New York City, a child of immigrants. My father arrived at Ellis Island as a Holocaust refugee. My mother came years later from South Africa. They met in New Jersey, watching US astronauts land on the moon on a friend's TV. My brother was born the next year, and my sister and I followed. My parents both built careers that they loved. My father as an engineer at Bell Labs and AT&T, and my mother, who's here with me today, as a pathologist at NYU Medical Center. They worked hard, driven by a shared love of science and lifelong learning. They reminded us very often of how lucky we are to live in this country, to have shelter, food, education, and the opportunity to grow and thrive. They taught us that these were not conditions to be taken for granted, and that is a truth that continues to guide me. With two demanding careers, my parents needed help raising us, so my mother's parents came from South Africa and moved in with us to help. My grandparents were a very steady presence in my life and in our community. My grandfather, who was a journalist by profession, worked as a crossing guard at the local elementary school and tended our garden with me often in tow. And my grandmother took me to synagogue on Saturday mornings and brought me with her when she volunteered at the local hospital in the afternoons. Those experiences laid the foundation for my commitment to public service and community. I began volunteering at the hospital on my own, and that was an experience that confirmed that I draw deep satisfaction from service to others in my community. And as my grandparents grew older, I found a different kind of purpose in caring for them and helping them with the daily chores that they began to find overwhelming as they aged. After college, as I considered my career, these experiences guided me towards law school here in Massachusetts at Northeastern, with its renowned public interest programs. I spent my first co-op in the elder unit at Greater Boston Legal Services, where I advocated for seniors who are facing evictions and benefits terminations. And my experience there confirmed to me that I was on the right track. By 2006, the year after I graduated, rising defaults on subprime mortgage loans hinted at the trouble to come. In the first years of my career, I focused on helping Massachusetts homeowners in crisis, often seniors and people of color, first from a small consumer protection law firm, and then in the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. I spent hours with clients who told me how they'd been misled into signing up for loans that they never could have afforded, and how when they went to the lenders for help, they got none. They were helpless and desperate. Their homes had been their largest asset and often a critical source of stability for their families for generations. So we sued the brokers and the banks that made those predatory loans, and eventually we won settlements that helped thousands of families stay in their homes. Of course, not everyone came out whole, not by a long shot, but I did feel like my work had a positive impact. I played a part in leveling the playing field and making sure that Massachusetts families got the protection that the law provides and that they weren't facing the big banks alone. And that's really been the common thread of my legal work, leveling the playing field. No case I have worked on has reflected that better than our case against Purdue and the Sackler family. Massachusetts families devastated by the opioid crisis were crying out for justice. We heard from parents, like Joanne talked about, whose children got addicted to the opioids prescribed to them for sports injuries and later died after overdosing. We heard from grandparents who thought they were in the years that they just got to be grandparents, only to find out that they needed to be raising their grandchildren because they had lost their children to addiction. And we heard from parents who'd emptied their retirement accounts to put their children in treatment multiple times. Finally, we heard from teenagers on their recovery journeys. With heroes like Joanne as our guide, we kept those families in focus and we delivered the best result we could for them. We made sure all the money that we recovered from the litigation would go to addressing the problem. Through all this, Massachusetts has become my home, the place where I found my purpose, built my career, and started my family. My husband, Carl, and I are deeply grateful to be raising our 2 daughters here. This state has given us so much, and I have been very proud to give back through public service. If confirmed, I will bring a deep commitment to fairness and service to this new role. I will work hard to keep the playing field level in the courtroom and to treat all parties equitably with dignity and empathy. Thank you again for your consideration for this very important role. I'm honored to be here and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you so much. We'll start with questions from Counselor Sill. Oh, you're right. Sorry, Counselor Iannella. No, I was gonna get to it. I was saying to you.
Thank you. First of all, your counselor, big supporter of yours.
Thank you.
That's important. She called me when your name was submitted. You have a great educational background, Columbia, Northeastern. I looked at your resume. I think you're gonna be a great addition to the Superior Court. I don't have any questions and I look forward to voting for you next week.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Counselor Ziegler.
Thank you. Really great to meet you in person. Congratulations for getting to this point. You and I had a lovely conversation the other night, and I appreciate your willingness to be intentional about your answers to questions that I posed to you. And you know, in our conversation, we talked about, you know, why is this a good time for you? Why the Superior Court, and sort of what you intend to do and leave as a legacy. And I'd like to pose you that question in a public forum for you to answer, because I really appreciated your answer.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I also enjoyed our conversation. Well, why this moment? I think from the first time that I walked into the Superior Court in Suffolk County to practice, and I you know, engaged with the judge there. Since that time, I've had just the utmost respect for the quality of the judges on the Superior Court bench, their intelligence, their humility, and just so I've been so grateful for the way that they have really been mentors to me. And, you know, I have, from that very first time, I thought, you know, that will be the culmination of my career if I can get to that moment. I think it's such an incredible public service to be a judge and to give back to the communities. You know, the courts are so important to the rule of law, to giving people, you know, a civilized way to hash out disputes. And I just very much want to contribute to the incredible culture on the Superior Court already, and to the public, and, you know, give back through this service. It feels like a culmination of my public service career.
Thank you. You know, at the core of our duties here on the council is to assess whether candidates that come before us understand the weight of being a judge, right? Understand the impact of decisions. And so we do a couple of things, right? So we have a conversation, with you individually, review all your materials, because I don't think many people understand the lengthy process that it takes to get to this point that you've had to undergo. Part of that is the various questionnaires that you had to submit, and you have a questionnaire not only for us, but you had a questionnaire for the JMC. One of your answers, I really appreciated when you were asked, could you characterize your views on discretion that ought to be exercised as a judge? I won't read the whole thing, but I just wanted to highlight you say there is no more consequential decision a judge can make than taking away someone's liberty. Accordingly, sentencing decisions should be grounded in specific facts and circumstances of each case and each individual person being sentenced. And you go on to talk about discretion and how you would approach cases. On the Superior Court, there will be many complex cases that would come before you should you be confirmed. Can you delve into a little bit more how you intend to establish, what type of environment you intend to establish within your courtroom should you be confirmed?
Sure. That question, I appreciate that for most people coming to court, it's not really the place that they want to be on that day. It can be a stressful experience. It can be a traumatizing experience. And I will really kind of view my role to maintain calm in the courtroom, to keep the temperature low, to do what I can to make people comfortable, to be attuned to the fact that for a lot of people coming into court, they've experienced traumas, and I really, don't wish my courtroom to be a place where people are unnecessarily re-traumatized. So I think I would just try to keep a calm courtroom, treat people with respect, regardless of whether they're the plaintiff or the defendant, and really just focus on the facts of every case, and give people the time and the space that they need to put their best foot forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your outlook towards this role, and your intentionality again of answering questions that I posed of you. One of the questions that I asked you in our earlier conversation was, what would be your greatest learning curve? And you talked about the fact that you're a generalist and you get up to speed pretty quickly. And I think that is a great skill to have and really helpful to have. And so, with that, I have no other questions, but I just want to say thank you for putting your hat forward and taking the time to answer our questions. I think it's a great occasion, especially for bringing your family to witness, you approach this process with such diligence. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Counselor DePaul.
Thank you, Counselor. Good morning.
Morning.
Congratulations on your nomination. Counselor Dolan's been very supportive of you. I met several supporters of yours, Northeastern alumni, recently. We're very excited to introduce you to me or me to you. So we had a good conversation. We hit on a few topics. One of them was the tremendous experience you have on the civil side and the learning curve you have on the criminal side. We mentioned visiting carceral facilities in the Commonwealth as something that maybe something you're interested in doing as you approach the bench. Could you explain why that would be important to you or what you'd hope to?
Yeah, definitely. As has already come up on a couple, in a couple of questions today, the discretion that judges have around sentencing is significant oftentimes, and I think to exercise it properly, one of the things, the places where I will want to educate myself is, before I sentence someone, where am I sending them? I would like to visit carceral facilities so that I understand before I ever sentence someone to be in one, where they'll be going. and what is it, available to them there in the way of resources. I just think that that's kind of a basic form of judicial diligence that I expect to undertake.
Yeah, I appreciate that systemic approach. And we also talked about, we didn't mention sentencing guidelines, but are you familiar with the Superior Court?
I am.
So in the penumbra of mitigating factors listed within those includes the age at the time of the offense and also other particular mental health concerns of defendants. So we did discuss brain development a little bit and the status of it in the law currently in Massachusetts. Could you talk about your perspective on brain development and how it might impact your jurisprudence?
Sure. Well, I'm familiar with the Mattis decision from the SJC, and in that decision, I'll speak to my kids for a second so they know what we're talking about. It was a decision that where the SJC decided that emerging adults, so these are people 18 to 20, should be treated more like juveniles when it came to sentencing. That they shouldn't be sentenced to life in prison without parole because, brain development wise, they were really closer to an 18-year-old or someone younger. So I think it's, I was impressed by the SJC's decision in Mattis. Clearly they felt that it was appropriate to follow the science that had been developed in the record there and to modify the sentences of emerging adults accordingly. I do think that they left the door open for potentially extending Mattis further. And so, we'll have to see what happens, whether there are cases that come down the pike where there are good record to put before the SJC in that regard.
And that a lot of the record came from Superior Court findings of facts that were sent to the SJC in the Mattis decision. As you alluded to, the record there indicated that the brain development continues past age 20 for all intents and purposes of this discussion. A 22-year-old isn't actually different than a 20-year-old either. Less developed in the scientific record that the courts have looked at are the fact that childhood traumas like exacerbate and delay that development even further. Things that are interesting, I think, to think about when a judge looks at sentencing and the particularities around cases before them. But I enjoyed our conversation. We also touched on sentencing disparities, racial disparities in criminal sentencing. Again, important given your heavy emphasis on civil side. Your work for the Commonwealth, thank you so much. We heard from your witnesses and the public in general certainly appreciates the work you did in the Attorney General's office. So thank you for that. I have no further questions. I look forward to supporting you when we vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, Counselor Sill.
Thank you. Gillian, congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure speaking with you. I'm getting to know you. Your counselor is a very great supporter of yours, and you definitely possess the qualities, the professional experience to be in this position that you are in. My question to you is, what does equal justice under law mean to you?
It means, I think, treating all parties, defendants in particular, I think in the context of that question, equally. And making sure that everyone has access to the same defenses and access to counsel. And the full ability to sort of defend themselves in the face of allegations. And the knowledge that the laws will be applied in a fair and even-handed way by the judges.
And my other question is, how do you believe the courts should balance accountability with rehabilitation for people struggling with substance abuse?
Thank you for that question. That's a really important question. Just from my work on the opioid cases and meeting so many families who have suffered at the hands of that crisis, I know that substance use disorder, being on the road to recovery is kind of a never-ending road. And people need to understand that addiction is a disease. And it often happens with co-occurring mental health challenges, other traumas. So I think, you know, in terms of approaching how we, for example, sentence somebody, a court involved, or treat somebody who's court involved, who has that constellation of background, all of that has to kind of play into the calculus of how you're going to treat that person, how you're going to sentence that person, and what they're going to need to recover.
And thank you so much for holding these big farmers accountable for what they're doing. And I definitely will be supporting you.
Thank you so much. It's been my honor.
Thank you. Attorney Feiner, I really appreciated our conversation. I enjoyed our conversation. I want you to know that as soon as you were nominated, Attorney Pat Moore called to rave about you, to let me know if there was anything you could do at all to help in this process, which I really appreciated. You do have a tremendous amount of support. And one of the things that we talked about before we were interrupted by the fire alarm and told to muster on the lawn, I'm sure that's the only time I've ever been told to muster, but we did. We did, and we continued our conversation as we walked. We had talked about your not having experience as a defense attorney. But looking at your body of work, you have dealt with issues that defense attorneys deal with. So could you just talk with us about the importance of disclosing potentially exculpatory evidence? To me, it's very much like you're filing motions to get documents released that could be disclosed to the public when you were pursuing Purdue.
Sure. You know, in order to defend themselves, defendants need to have access to all of the materials that the Commonwealth has access to, so that they know what's coming and how they can prepare their defense. And I was happy to see that Rule 14 was amended to sort of lay some of that out more clearly, because I think that there were some gray areas, and even people who were well-intentioned might fail to make full disclosure. I think that the opportunities for mistakes or mischief have been somewhat resolved by the new rule. But yes, as a you know, if I were confirmed as a Superior Court judge, it would definitely be very important to me that defendants have fulsome access to the evidence that was going to be brought to bear against them, or that was considered, so that they could mount a proper defense.
Of course, I don't have any further questions. I loved what your witness said about being happy when he was working with you, and how that will be conveyed when you're sitting on the bench. So I look forward to supporting you and voting for you. And with that, this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hearing of the Governor's Council to order. I'm going to begin by reading a letter submitted to the council from the governor. Dated October 8th, 2025. Dear councilors, I'm pleased to nominate Alessandra E. Petruccelli to the position of Associate Justice of the Probate and Family Court. Submit this nomination advising consent of Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I enclose the nominee's resume for your convenience. Sincerely, Governor Maura T. Healy. So I'll be cheering to this morning's hearing because Councilor Kennedy very much regrets that he can't be with us today. I know he certainly wants to be and is a big supporter of your nomination. So with that sad note aside, we can move forward. I understand. Well, first off, I'll give you a chance if you'd like. You can introduce the folks you've brought with you today, and then we can hear from your witnesses.
Yes, well, I'm Alessandra Petruccelli. Nice to meet everyone, and thank you all for taking the time to speak with me. Today with me, I have a good amount of people. I have Attorney Richard Lenz. He and I have shared legal space for 18 years. And he is going to be speaking on my behalf. My husband, Anthony, my son, Anthony, my sister, Cynthia. Attorney Johnson has worked with me for 14 years in my office doing probate and family law, fun stuff. My friend Renee Coleman. And over here, we have Attorney Gary Todd and Attorney Jen Salerno, Attorney Stephanie Lyons, and Chief Justice Brian Dunn.
Thank you. And with that, if you'd like to call your first witness.
I'll call Richard Lenz.
Excellent. Welcome, Attorney Lenz.
Thank you, Councilor DiPaolo. And good morning, members of the Governor's Council, to Attorney Petruccelli, and to friends and colleagues who've joined us here this morning. My name is Richard Lenz. I'm an attorney that's been practicing here in the Commonwealth for 28 years. It is my privilege to appear today in strong support of Attorney Alessandra Petruccelli's nomination to the Massachusetts Probate and Family Court. I want to thank the Council for giving me this opportunity to speak on her behalf. For most of my entire professional career, I've had the distinct pleasure of knowing and working with Attorney Petruccelli, not only as a professional colleague and a fellow member of the bar, but also as a trusted friend and at times a mentor. Over that time, I've come to know her not only as an exceptionally capable attorney, but someone who embodies great character, fairness, and dedication to the practice of law. From the very beginning of her career, Alessandra has distinguished herself amongst her peers as someone who possesses calm, thoughtful advocacy, and unwavering professionalism. In a field that often brings out intense and emotional aspects of human experience, I've come to learn through our professional networks and many mutual colleagues that Alessandra has consistently demonstrated grace under pressure, empathy towards clients, and a deep respect for the judicial process. I think what stands out most about Attorney Petruccelli is her temperament. She's someone who listens carefully and considers all perspectives before forming a decision or an opinion. She approaches conflict with civility. She treats every person, whether it's a client, opposing counsel, or court staff, with dignity and respect. In my view, these are qualities which are indispensable in the probate and family court, where decisions can often profoundly affect people's lives. What I find equally impressive about Attorney Petruccelli is her work ethic. She has a reputation of approaching cases with seriousness they deserve and preparing every matter with care and precision. Yet she also balances that diligence with compassion, ensuring that the people she represents are treated not as a case file, but as a person often navigating some of the most difficult moments of their lives. Moreover, Alessandra possesses the analytical ability to interpret complex legal issues, the emotional intelligence to manage sensitive family dynamics, and the moral grounding to arrive at a fair and just decision. Qualities that make her uniquely qualified for judicial service, in my view. On a personal level, I can attest that Alessandra is someone whose word is her bond. She has always conducted herself with the utmost honesty and professionalism throughout her career. She is trusted by her peers, admired by her colleagues, and respected by many who've had the privilege to work with her. More importantly, as a parent, I've been amazed by Alessandra's ability to balance a successful law practice while meeting the demands of raising two wonderful children and always figuring out how to prioritize what is important. Whether it's preparing for trial, attending sporting events for her children, or being home to have dinner with family, the concept of a demanding schedule is something that's never been lost on Alessandra. I just, for a moment, want to clarify the record, though. When I refer to being home for dinner, it's usually her husband, Anthony, who is cooking, because thank God, her culinary skills are not before the council today. Considerations, so I think.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Thank you.
In all seriousness, hard work, patience, humility, fairness, just some of the things that have defined Alessandra's entire professional career as an attorney. And I believe these are the same qualities that define a good judge. I have no doubt that if confirmed, she'll serve the Commonwealth with distinction, uphold the highest standard of judicial conduct, and reflect great credit upon this council's decision to approve her nomination. It is therefore without reservation and with great pride that I offer my full support for Attorney Alessandra Petruccelli's appointment to the Massachusetts Probate and Family Court. I thank the council for the opportunity to speak on her behalf and your thoughtful consideration of this outstanding nominee. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Lentz. Do any counselors have questions for the witness?
I ask you what your signature dish is.
You talk Alessandra's or mine?
Yes.
I will defer comment until.
Plead the fifth.
Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you very much.
Next, we will hear from Attorney Peter Johnson. Morning, Attorney Johnson.
Morning, everyone. My name is Peter Johnson, and I am honored to be speaking today in support of Attorney Alessandra Petruccelli's nomination to the bench. This is a bittersweet occasion for me as I am excited that Attorney Petruccelli has been given this opportunity to share her skills with the citizens of the Commonwealth. However, I am saddened this period in our professional relationship is coming to a close. I started working for Attorney Petruccelli as a law clerk during the summer of my second and third years of law school, and I've continued working alongside her for almost 14 years now. I could not have asked for a better employer, mentor, or colleague. Attorney Petruccelli has taught me a lot about the law, navigating the courthouse, and professionalism. One of the things that has not surprised me during these past few weeks is the outpouring of praise and support for Attorney Petruccelli's nomination from clients, members of the bar, and court staff, ranging from probation officers to clerks to court officers. Attorney Petruccelli's reputation of professionalism, ethics, and compassion has truly shown through. Attorney Petruccelli has taught me that ensuring that your clients feel heard and respected goes a long way in resolving even the most difficult case. This has been illustrated by the vast array of clients our office has represented during my time working with Attorney Petruccelli. We have assisted everyone from a young mother from Morocco who spoke little English and had no idea that she could request an increase here in the US to the $14 per month child support order obtained by her husband by a foreign decree. Attorney Petruccelli has represented a preschool teacher and her husband who sought a guardianship of a former student who was in danger of entering the foster care system. Our office has represented a hedge fund manager whose assets included a vast estate on Nantucket. Attorney Petruccelli spent several years helping a single mother regain custody of her children after they were removed by DCF, including helping her find supports and going as far as helping her obtain a working refrigerator pursuant to her action plan. We have represented teachers, police officers, stay-at-home mothers, fellow attorneys, politicians, and retirees, and Attorney Petruccelli has dedicated the same level of care and dedication to each and every case. And her passion to help others, especially children, has led me to standing before you today singing her praises. Attorney Petruccelli takes the time to listen to each client and hear their concerns. She has never taken a cookie-cutter approach to her cases and truly accounts for the unique circumstances of each client's needs. It is this approach which has resulted in Attorney Petruccelli's successful practice. It is this perspective as an involved practitioner and parent herself which makes her an amazing candidate for the bench. Attorney Petruccelli understands the legal process as a result of her years of dedicated work. She understands that not every case is the same and not every client has access to the same resources and support systems. She understands what the attorneys standing before the judge are going through, preparing for hearings and juggling busy schedules. And she understands what the individuals and parents standing in the courtroom, some for the very first time in their lives, just want to be heard and respected. I believe that Attorney Petruccelli's appointment to the bench would be an asset to the citizens of the Commonwealth due to her years of experience and passion for helping families during some of the most difficult times of their lives. Attorney Petruccelli has demonstrated a history of compassion and respect for each individual. Make her exceptionally qualified for this next step in her career. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Attorney. Any counselors have questions or comments?
Have you tasted any of her cooking?
I have not.
Thank you, Attorney. We appreciate it. Before we move on, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the nominee? There being none. If you'd like, Attorney Petruccelli, you can offer us a statement if you have one.
I do. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and for your consideration of my nomination to serve on the Probate and Family Court. I'm deeply honored. I would like to thank Governor Healy, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for their nomination to serve as Associate Justice in the Probate Court. I would also like to thank the Chief Legal Counsel, Jesse and Dara, and all of the support from this office. It has been really incredible and is much appreciated. I wanted to thank each member of the Governor's Council. I've had the opportunity to speak with all of you and meet with some of you. And the time and attention that each council member takes to review the application, not only your JNC application, but also the judicial questionnaire. It's a lot of work, and everybody that I have spoken to takes their role very seriously with due diligence. I would love to thank all my colleagues and members of the judiciary who have supported my nomination for this position, especially Chief Justice Dunn, who has been a mentor to me throughout my career. I've learned a great deal from him, and his support has been essential to my development. I especially want to thank both Richie and Peter. Not only are they dear friends and very important to me, working alongside them both, I have learned a great deal from both of them. And that includes Peter, and I can cook, Richie. I'm incredibly grateful to my husband, Anthony, and my two children, Alexa and Anthony. My son, Anthony, is sitting behind me. My daughter is a sophomore at Syracuse, so I believe she is watching on the live stream right now. I am really blessed to have an amazing husband and two amazing children, and watching them mature into remarkable young adults has been the greatest joy of my life. I want to thank my entire extended family, especially my sister who is here today. She has been my best friend. She has encouraged and supported me my entire life. My sister is an incredible worker. I have to mention she's Assistant Regional Director of a program, a nonprofit called Communities for People. And the work she does is amazing there. And it's inspired me a lot. I would not be sitting before you today if it weren't for my parents. My parents instilled in me from a young age the value of hard work and the transformative power of education. My father immigrated to this country from Italy at the age of 22 with limited English, yet he pursued his studies with determination and earned a PhD in chemistry from Rensselaer Polytech Institute. Having lost his mother at the young age of 13, my father was extremely close with his brother and his father, my grandfather, and they worked very hard when they came to America to support him as he endeavored to complete his doctorate in the United States. My father built a distinguished career, serving as senior principal chemist for Ocean Spray Cranberries, and his example of perseverance, intellectual rigor, and quiet dedication shaped my approach to both work and public service. I still remember as a law student calling my dad, stressed out about exams. My father said, nothing comes easily without hard work. Do not complain. I completed my PhD with English as my second language. My parents taught me the most effective and fair decision-making often begins with the willingness to ask questions, seek guidance, and listen carefully to all perspectives. My father used to say, I know what I don't know. That has always stuck with me. My parents emphasized with us the danger of being afraid to make mistakes, allowing us to do so. I believe that humility includes the courage to correct errors when they're identified. My parents also instilled in me the value of hard work in all of us and with my siblings. I've worked since the age of 14 as a waitress, and that was very important to me because it enabled me to gain that experience and develop professionally and personally. It also quickly learned the importance of responsibility, diligence, and accountability for your actions. I also learned from harder lessons. My father spoke with a very thick accent, and I recall occasions when others diminished him or didn't take him seriously because of his accent. Those experiences taught me the importance of treating every person with dignity and listening very careful to people. My parents' experiences caring for one another shaped my values and perspectives. When my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease at the young age of 59, he faced a very long and difficult journey. My mother's strength and devotion as his primary caregiver during the many stages of this illness were remarkable. Despite my mother's significant physical challenges, including scoliosis that ultimately required spinal fusion surgery, she kept my father at home for as long as possible and worked tirelessly to ensure he remained engaged with appropriate medical care and supportive services. Their experience taught me about resilience, dignity, and the practical complexities families face when not navigating chronic illness and elder care. I observed firsthand the emotional strain, the need for coordinated medical and social supports, and the importance of compassionate decision-making. These lessons inform my commitment to treat vulnerable individuals in caregiving families with empathy and to consider the real-world impacts of court orders and hopefully seek solutions that protect people's dignity while respecting the law. Before I went to law school, I was a social worker for the Department of Children and Family, and I gained direct frontline experience with child welfare and family dynamics. In 2003, I opened my own law practice, initially with my partner, the Honorable Judge Kimberly Foster, who focused more on criminal law. I obtained a FAFL certification and accepted those appointments through the bulk of my career. In that role, it was high complex, high stake cases, I worked closely with multidisciplinary teams, social workers, clinicians, and GALs, and advocated for services for my clients that balance safety, family integrity, and legal rights. Throughout my practice, I have had the privilege of working with clients facing a wide range of challenges, including mental health issues, substance misuse, domestic violence, and financial strain. Many of my clients come from diverse cultural backgrounds, which require sensitivity, cultural competence, and an understanding of different perspectives. These cases demand more than legal knowledge. They require compassion, patience, and the ability to manage high-charged emotional situations while ensuring the parties are protected. Over the course of more than 2 decades practicing family law, I have learned invaluable lessons from my colleagues, the judges that I have appeared before, and my own experiences with clients. The most important thing I have learned is to have empathy for people's situations. Most clients that come before the probate and family court have had some sort of trauma. It's important to know that when they come before the court, they may be feeling very emotional or very stressed. I think that having the perspective of representing so many people with a wide range of challenges is essential, and I'm excited to continue in that work. If confirmed, I would bring this understanding to the bench. If confirmed, I will ensure that my decisions are informed, equitable, and focused on the well-being of those involved. I feel that my background as a social worker, a litigator, and a child advocate has prepared me to serve effectively. I promise to bring to the bench a commitment to impartiality, careful legal analysis, respect for all participants, and thoughtful application of the law to sensitive, often life-changing matters that come before the probate court. If confirmed, I will honor the trust placed in me by applying the law fairly, protecting due process, and making decisions that serve the best interests of families in the Commonwealth. In addition, if confirmed, I will bring to the bench respect for all parties with an awareness how cultural differences can affect people's interactions with the justice system. I truly appreciate the council's time this morning and consideration of my application and nomination, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will hear from the council. Typically, we would rotate around the council by district number. Councilors Kennedy and Jacobs can't be here today, but they are thankfully on the mend. But I know if they could be here, they would. But with that, we're gonna open with Councilor Ferreira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You and I had a great conversation. I feel like you've been, maybe accused of doing some bad cooking, and I want to hear from your son if he wants to chime in. Do you have anything to say?
I be consistent. Something he likes to overcome this.
Consistency. Consistency is a good thing in the law, I guess. You and I had a great conversation, and as I expressed to you, and I know my counsel, I've heard it ad nauseum. The important thing for me is to make sure that there's equal parenting involved whenever possible. Because it wasn't like that for me 25 years ago when a judge was yelling that joint physical custody does not work. And I can tell you today, and I was just texting my daughter who's 34 years old today, that it worked. I have three, 26 to 34, and it worked incredibly well. And as you spoke about, the highest joy you have in life is when you see these remarkable young people grow up to be great human beings. And I've experienced that joy. And you told me, and I haven't heard this before, but you're aware of studies that have been going on for the last 25 years about the outcome of children when they have shared custody as opposed to living with just one parent. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Certainly. I think it's very important, especially in the example that you gave. I think joint custody is very important because when parents, if it's safe and healthy for the child, the best interest of the child is always the paramount consideration by the court. However, we have to remember when people break up or they get divorced or they're not living in one household, that's traumatic for the children as well. And this is a time when I've had clients that say, I used to wake up every morning and my 3-year-old would be running down the stairs to kiss me. And now I'm getting divorced and and I'm put on every other weekend or Wednesday visit and things that really aren't natural. So I do think it's a super important component to make workable parenting plans that foster both relationships with the children, despite who maybe if there was a stay-at-home parent or whatever. I think that it's important to explore that. And it's also important, and I mentioned this yesterday with Counselor Dolan, these cases, you have to look at the pattern in the history. So if the family was intact and they were sharing responsibilities and both parents were engaged with the children and now they're getting divorced, well, the child's not getting divorced from his parents or her parents rather. So that is something that I think is super important. And in the example, especially that you gave, I think it's appropriate in a lot of cases. I really do. And I've been on both sides of it, so.
My kids love their mom as much as they love me, I'm sure. And they will tell you that they only have like these great lives because of parenting and how we.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was great to hear that that's become evident in studies as well.
It has. And because again, you have to remember the children aren't getting divorced. And so oftentimes because we're dealing with a lot of emotionally charged situations, and there could be a fiscal component to it, just the way the guidelines are run. Some people are, fight when it's not appropriate on that. And that's something that I think the court needs to be cognizant of when people come before them. Like, what is your motive? And so that's something to be looked at. It's really important for kids.
The other thing we talked about a little bit was restraining orders. Have you seen in your practice where some practitioners encourage people to go get a restraining order in the district court or the probate court to gain advantage in litigation going forward?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said no. I've never seen a situation where it's been encouraged and sort of utilized as a tool because that's an automatic out of the house, right? So that's it. That's something we have to be, in the same token, there are serious situations with domestic violence, coercive control, and the statute's been expanded somewhat in August of 2024. But yes, you can see that. And I think it's very important to assess the credibility, match up the affidavit that was filed for the basis of the restraining order and actually look at that and have the person testify to what's going on. And you can kind of parse it out at that point, but it can be used as a litigation strategy. in some cases, I have seen it.
I've certainly seen it on the, in the district court. And, puts people out of work, and sometimes they lose their jobs the minute they
Right,
go for
if
it.
you have a police officer or something like that, they can't have their.
Any job carrying a gun.
Any job,
Very
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're cognizant of that and admit that it does happen, because I'm sure you've seen it. Consul Kennedy, huge fan of yours, which speaks volumes to me. He said he's known you for many decades. The chief's here in support of you with your witnesses. I'm sure you're gonna make a great judge, and I look forward to voting for you next week.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Civil.
Chairman, congratulations, Alessandra, on your nomination.
Thank you so much.
It was wonderful meeting with you. We spent like an hour talking. If we could spend more time, I think we would.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to know your experiences as well as personal experience we shared between us. And, Counselor Kennedy is a great supporter of yours. And he raves about you and your professionalism. And I am very happy to know a lot about you, especially, working with DCF. I mean, I think that's, that would be the number one thing to prepare you to be in this position. We often know that, based on my experience working in the court, when children go into DCF, you hear a lot of them say, well, when I go in, I come out even worse. So keeping families together is very important. And I know that you would do a good job because you've seen it through DCF and how families work and how separation works. And my question to you is, what inspired you to move from practicing family law to seeking a position as a judge?
That's an excellent question. I do want to just touch upon something. I want to say Attorney Johnson, who's worked for me, who I respect very much, I would like the council to know he's actually adopted one child and is in the process of finalizing the adoption for another child, him and his husband from DCF that were in pretty bad homes. And he has remarkably handled that responsibility of a 2-year-old. And I think Malachi was 5 when he came to you. Yeah. And so, so I just have to give him sort of a shout out, and also again to my sister for the work she does, running as an assistant regional director. I am incredibly proud of her. The timing on this, my children are older, and I think that, and I've had a lot of experience. I've done a lot of litigation and been doing it for some time. This is actually the honor of a lifetime to be nominated to this position. I feel in my life right now that my background and experience, I hopefully would try my best to be an excellent judge, and it worked out for my family right now. I think it's the best time. They're not running him much. He has his license. My daughter's like in another state right now, so it's a little bit easier. So we've kind of, I'm excited for the nomination. And I appreciate everything that we shared and talked about.
Absolutely. And I know how, you had a personal experience with substance abuse, not with you directly.
No.
Just-
We had a family member.
Yeah. Not to get into too detail, but.
No, but I've had in my, a cousin, yeah. I didn't even tell you about that, but we'll chat again.
The importance of knowing that these issues arises, and when we have these personal experiences, when we take it to our work to make sure that the people that we're serving are able to get a better quality of life, but an opportunity to get better, to get the resources that they need. And now that you will be in a position where you can make a change, it's important that, behind the role you are a human being as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Dolan.
Good morning. So good to see you here. The first thing I knew after I knew you've been nominated was Counselor Kennedy letting me know just how highly he thinks of you. And he just raved about you. And frankly, that was all I needed to know as well. But I do want to ask you a couple of things. Building on Counselor Ferrero's point of people misusing our courts to gain an advantage in the judicial proceeding, I wanted to ask you about income attribution. there are people who try to rig the guidelines by not earning as much as they're capable of earning, so that they have less. And you said that judges have a lot of discretion, and I just wondered if you could speak to us about the factors that you will look at as a judge.
Yeah, oh, yeah, thank you for the question. That's a topic, and there is a lot of discretion relative to that. I think that if in the context of a divorce, if you're looking at historical earnings, you know, there's the case that I shared with you, I believe the other day, an attorney was working, making a good amount, 200 whatever thousand, and then decided to go be a sheep farmer up in Maine or New Hampshire, and the court said, hey, no, you know. But there's also a danger on the other end, especially in financial jobs. So you really have to take a look at what is the historical earnings, what was the pattern prior to the separation, what, if anything, has changed. And in a lot of my cases, I have, you know, had to employ a vocational expert to kind of come in and say, this is where it should be. And there's different ways that the court and judges do this. Put you on a job search, so you have to find a job. I mean, because you may have made, you know, X number of dollars, but there may not be a position for you, but you're trying very hard, and you also have the financial burden and the strain of the divorce. So I think there's a balance there, but it's really, I think it's important to look at the facts and subjectively for each and every case, and ensure that you're not overly attributing. Oftentimes, if someone's been out of the workforce for a long period of time, that's a different inquiry altogether, because you're not going to be as competitive, obviously, as people that have not. So these are all the sort of factors. I mean, I have dealt with it. I've done a few trials relative to that, one of which is that we discussed, that's in my application, but those are some important things that I would really look at.
For the questions, I enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much.
Counselor Iannella.
Thank you very much. First of all, Councilor Kennedy, again, a big supporter. You and I had a lovely conversation. You know, we've heard the term joint physical custody, joint legal custody, but that may mean one thing to you, and to other people, it may mean something else. In other words, gonna make it easy. You know, when people first hear the term, oh, joint legal custody, joint physical custody, or whatever, it doesn't mean 50-50, does it?
Not legal, it could
be 99% here, 1%. It could, correct?
Good.
So when you hear the word joint, for some people that says, oh, good, we're moving ahead in, you know, in time, and now it's both parents have a say. But in reality, if it's 99%, if someone looks, even look at it this way. You got 2 kids, wonderful kids, and they're 30 days in a month and 29 days with one parent, 1 day. Well, it's joint physical custody. Well,
yeah.
But it's not what I like.
Right.
So when you have a case, you haven't heard the facts of the case, but you know it's an issue. It's gonna be a temporary order. I don't do any divorces, so I'm saying this term's wrong.
No, that's perfect.
You have, you know, temporary orders come before you, and it's about custody visitation. Before you hear the facts of the case, what you got, what would you like to have? In other words, you're not even a judge. What do you like? What's your personal feelings about that?
First of all, thank you so much for that question. I think it's such an important issue for the reasons that you said, that sometimes things are labeled a certain way. I do want to just say one thing. Joint legal custody is it's different than the physical custody. Physical custody, we kind of, at least in my practice, we kind of have molded the words to be not sole legal or sole physical and things like that. You say parenting plans or the like. I will just echo what I said before, and especially under that example, if the children and have been with both parents and both parents have raised them, I do think more of a blended 50-50 plan, and regularly seeing both parents is super important under those facts and circumstances, as long as there's not a safety issue or a substance abuse issue or something of that nature. So I definitely have my eyes open to that but you know, you have to understand the distinction between the legal and the physical is one. And joint legal custody is just the right on major life decisions, which include medical, educational, and religious. So that basically means major. Yeah, you know, heart transplant. No, I'm just kidding. Not, that would be terrible. But something that would actually be impactful. Otherwise, I mean, joint legal custody, you could kind of make the decision when you're parenting the children in your own home. But I do think it's super important because again, the children are not divorcing the parents. The parents are divorcing, and sometimes that gets emotional and skewed,
I
unfortunately.
appreciate that. What does this go on? One parent, first of all, my hypotheticals, both parents are great.
Okay,
They're all my-
yep.
they're all my,
That's how I assumed it.
you know, one parent wants the children to go to this school, and the other parent wants them to go there. Where does that go on? Joint what?
So if it's joint legal custody, and there's a disagreement about school.
Big issues.
Yeah, unfortunately, that would have to be brought before the court because neither parent would have the exclusive right to just make that type of determination. Yeah.
How do you make a decision? One person wants them to go to Linfield Public, and the other parent says, I want them to go to, oh, I don't know, a private school in the neighborhood.
Okay, so, I mean, I would listen and learn the facts of that particular child and what needs they may have. And if it's a private school that brings on another component financially,
Private.
correct. And
She will pay.
I think it would be, I think you'd have to look at the particular educational needs of that child. Do they have an IEP? Do they have some specialized need to be in it? Okay.
Most schools are near each other. Most schools, the kids are great, they're like your kids, there's no issues.
Yeah.
If they had, I do that. There's no issues.
Yeah.
One wants them to go here, the other wants them to go here, 5 miles here, 3 miles here, 2 miles here. How do you decide that?
I mean, we'd have to figure out what would give that child the best opportunity and what would be in their best interest. I mean, again, I think that if the private school is a better opportunity for the child, and that's something where they're gonna excel and have this great opportunity and one parent's willing to pay for it, I would take seriously to consider that. On the other hand, if there's strong reasons on the other parent, you really have to have, a hearing on that type of a thing.
Can't say, and I don't put words in your mouth. Well, let's say a private school.
Yeah.
It's got 18 kids in a class. The public school's got, my kids are old, I don't even know, 38. The private school, they got such a tremendous, and in college these days, that's not, some people don't go to college, which is nothing wrong with that.
No.
But their record of going to colleges is fantastic. The public schools, are these considerations that you take into consideration, you don't take those considerations?
I would absolutely, you would take, what is the child interested potentially in pursuing? What is gonna enhance him at a particular school? How are his needs gonna be met better? Are the smaller classrooms better for this particular child? Will he have different opportunity, he or she have different opportunities? I mean, my son goes to St. John's Prep, hockey player, senior. And my daughter graduated from Linfield High. Both educational settings were amazing for them. They're both doing remarkably well. He's still at school, but not today. Yeah, so I think you have to look at really the particular child and figure out what's in their best interest. And I know it's kind of a broad concept, but I think you really have to take a look at those particulars and what opportunities would be available.
Just a couple more.
Okay.
The one issue that really gets me going.
Okay.
I'm a strong advocate of children. Just think of you. The removal statute. I don't even know, I know somewhat, but not that much. But you got two nice parents and somebody wants to move to Idaho. Oh, and because his sick mother is out there. What, I mean, those gotta be really, I don't care what the law says, it'd be really difficult for me, to allow a child to go somewhere else. If one parent, wants to go there, hey, good luck, but.
Yeah.
That's one that really gets me, because let's be fair. Once the child or children go to another state, I'm not talking Rhode Island, it's over. There's no relationship, and the only relationship that
first
person can have would by Zoom, and that's not a relationship. You
Yeah.
can't hug Zoom.
I agree. I tend to agree with you. I mean, there are circumstances. I've actually been on both sides of a trial. I had a case, I can just give you a quick example. The father with the two children, they lived in Winthrop, Massachusetts. The mother got a boyfriend and a hairdressing job out in Long Meadow or Springfield area. And we treated it as a removal case. It was a trial I did with Judge Ross. She actually gave my client custody because the kids were like ingrained in their community and things like that. I think especially what you just said, both parents are great. They see the children, they can go to a baseball game, they can go to a football game, they can come to a practice, they can go to the school and see events and things like that. You're essentially really damaging that relationship with the parent moving out. So it's a very high bar, in my opinion. And it would have to be a little bit more than I need to care for, not that that's very nice. That's a lovely concept, but to me, it's a really serious issue. I mean, I've had removal. I had a removal where my client, but this was by agreement, was permitted to move back to Canada where she was from. But the important thing to always keep in mind, the custody is the jurisdiction. Once a child moves to another state and they're physically there, 6 months in, the jurisdiction, it jumps over to that other state. And so now you have a parent, the money stays here, right? The child support stays here in Massachusetts. Then you have that parent having to travel to another state to get more custody. And there's a lot of expenses and stuff.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I take that very seriously.
Let's assume you make a decision, and you made a decision on removal.
Yeah.
We're not letting the children go to Idaho. If the other side appeals, how long does that take before a decision comes down? That's what I'm thinking. 3 months, like a year and a half.
Oh, a long time.
Well, that's my point.
Yes.
Guess what? You can't get fired. I
Yeah.
know what the law says. You're gonna do what you do. I know what I would do. If I was head judge, there's no way. I can't fire me. So like, I'm over a little big deal. Because that's what works for me.
Yeah. I think I tend to agree with you, especially in that example. I think it's a very, very high bar. Again, I just go back to children are not divorcing their parents. They have a relationship. And even if there's a parenting plan, 50-50, whatever it is, or however it sort of works out, it would inhibit the ability to be participating with friends, with sporting events, with plays and theater and all the things that a kid does that both parents should be able to enjoy and have a part in. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Question. You're gonna be a great addition to the probate court.
Thank you so much.
Kennedy's solid behind you. You got the chief. I mean, nobody's better than the chief.
He's the best. He's the best.
Staff is phenomenal. One word, phenomenal. And I wish you the best.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Ziegler.
Thank you. Attorney, really great to see you. Thank you for having a lovely conversation.
Congratulations again on your baby. That's so exciting.
Full disclosure, he joined our conversation yesterday. He was very enthralled with your responses. So, you come to us, and I know you've heard it before, but I also had a conversation with Counselor Kennedy, and he speaks very, very highly of your experience, your demeanor, your body of work, your resume, your 22 years plus experience in the field.
Yeah.
But you're only 16, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I know the math is not nothing there. But that also speaks volumes to me. In the probate court, dealing with a lot of really sensitive matters, right? And one aspect that you may, should you be confirmed, have more experience with, or may come before you more, is individuals who are, grieving a loss and in disagreement about assets, whether it be property or whether it be, some other, item, or documents that they're in dispute over. In our conversation, you discussed that, these type of conversations require some empathy, when you approach them. And also in reading in your questionnaire, J&C questionnaire, I often like to refer to these questionnaires because you spend a lot of time putting them together. You mentioned, and I'll quote, "I've learned the importance of managing clients' expectations, that it's essential to give clear expectations of the process while balancing the client's need to feel heard. I understand how mental illness, substance abuse, substance misuse, financial hardship, and the like can affect the capacity, parenting, and decision-making in general." Which I felt that response to be very eye-opening, because in this venture, you would be going from, arguments to presiding over a case, right? So understanding that there are many factors involved. Can you speak to how you intend to use that outlook from the bench, how you would intend to shape your courtroom environment?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's an excellent question. I know we spoke a little bit about this before, and I think it's very important. I think, and the judges that I've been before that I admire very much, including Chief Justice Dunn, getting sort of a clear direction or maybe some clear comments at the pretrial stage and certain stages can really help to manage people's expectations as to what they are going to expect should the matter have to go to trial. It also helps to promote some settlement, because if somebody comes down, and says, "Hey, you're not gonna get the red car," I think is my example. And then if they feel heard, they may walk away angry, but they also may walk away saying, "Hey, I do know this individual is fair." And I think that's very, very important. I think it's very important to listen to people, because ultimately everybody that comes before the probate and family court is experiencing some sort of trauma somewhere, and they come in very emotional. And I would hope to do that, and also to provide that feedback, because I think that's really essential. And sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it settle the case, because then you can say to the client, "You heard what the judge said, and here we got to kind of wrap that up." And that is something that I have worked on getting better with. I often say to my clients, like, I'm Debbie Downer, not to be Debbie Downer, but all these things could happen. So you need to be prepared for X, Y, and Z, and figure out contingency plans with me in case something doesn't go our way. And this is maybe what you could expect. And it's nice to have those conversations to settle cases, because we are like all courts right now, right? Very overburdened. The dockets are full. They're busy, busy courts. So I think that could be very helpful for a judge to actually hopefully give you some insight, even if it's not what they want to hear.
Very important, along the same lines, one of the criticisms that we hear about the courts and sometimes family and probate court is the delays in hearing cases, right? Could you speak to, so along the lines of your prior question, could you speak to how you would try to expedite some of these cases, if there is an opportunity to expedite them?
I think you're absolutely correct. And again, it's it's a busier court. I definitely would try to get orders out as efficiently and quickly as possible, especially temporary orders. And because that again can mold the sort of shape the case and promote settlement down the road. And strive to have quicker dates utilizing Zoom or whatever. If we need a status day, we don't need everybody piling in, you know, I think that's a good tool in, you know, non-evidentiary settings and not a motion hearing, obviously. But try and just really keep on top of the docket and not fall behind, because that's the fear, that you're gonna fall behind, you know what I'm saying? And a longer period of time is gonna take to make decisions, and obviously a trial, you know, that could be many, many days and that kind of thing. But that is something I will try really hard to do and work with the clerks and staff and everybody to ensure that things are moving in the direction, what I can control of it. And also promoting the conciliation programs and the different alternate dispute resolution that maybe I can do quick referrals to, because the bar associations are really great with that as well.
And my last question is, you know, in your time, you've had experience with coming before many judges. It's a two-part question. Can you speak to a judge that you would emulate should you be confirmed? And furthermore, what type of legacy would you hope to lead on the bench?
Thank you. That's a really great question. Do you want me to name the judge?
It's up to you. I don't want Chief Justice Judge to get jealous over here. He's right behind me, so.
Judge Dunn's excellent. His courtroom. No. You really want to go. I said it in my opening. He is someone I would emulate. I have, again, judges that are efficient, move the docket along, listen to people, but don't, you know, let a hearing go on and on for 45 minutes, repeating the same thing because people are emotional. He is absolutely someone I would emulate. Judge Anderson in Middlesex, excellent, moves it along, decisions come out, gives clear direction. Those are the types of judges that I would absolutely hope to be like, you know, while on the bench. I think that it's very important to listen to people, but also move the docket along, knowing, because the other piece of this is when you're paying for an attorney and you're at a busy motion session and your case may not get called till 1 or 2 o'clock, and that client is paying you to sit there while this stuff is going on and on. So trying to make that a little bit more efficient, and I will definitely be eager to learn how to do so. But I think getting your decisions out, especially on a TO, is very, very important to the court and to people.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Hello.
Hi.
From being a DCF social worker to over 80 trials, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Your experience is impeccable. It's not lip service to say that your name's come up in conversations with Counselor Kennedy for quite a while. And that certainly goes a long way, but your experience speaks for itself. I'm grateful to you for applying. I'm grateful to the administration, the governor, and our Office of Legal Counsel who've been delivering outstanding probate nominees. And at least in Worcester, I hear very good things about Chief Justice Dunn as well, and the direction that the courts are moving in. So unless you have something you'd like to share, I have no questions for you.
Thank you.
And I will close this hearing of the council.
Thank you very much.
Very cool.
We seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decision with impartiality. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Good afternoon, everyone. You guys have had a full morning. I'd like to recognize Counselor Kennedy. Oh, I can't recognize Counselor Kennedy. I'd like to recognize Counselor Jacobs for a motion to record and advising consent for the financial.
Paulo, maybe?
Sir DiPaolo.
Handle it.
Call on the only two counselors who Counselor DiPaolo for a motion to record advising consent for the financial warrants.
So moved.
Sir, seconded by Counselor Ziegler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I'd like to recognize Counselor Dolan for a motion to record advice and consent for the pending list of notaries public and justices of the peace.
So moved.
Seconded by Counselor Civil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I know we have before us one nomination to the office of public administrator. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Are we doing any motions on that or no, not necessary? Okay. So on that nomination,
I will move.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna recognize Counselor Ferrer for a motion to record advice and consent for the reappointment of John Cartwright,
The issue.
position of public administrator for Barnstable County. No roll call is necessary,
Thank you.
the voice call.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Ianella. Motion made by Counselor Ferrer. All those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks. And Counselor Civil, I'd like to recognize a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Jamie Bennett to the position of Associate Justice of the Juvenile Court. Motion's made and seconded by Counselor Ziegler. Any further comments or questions? I know you've already had a hearing on that. Seeing none, I'd ask Sonia to please call the roll.
Counselor Civil?
Yes.
Counselor Dolan?
Yes.
Counselor Ianella?
Yes.
Counselor Ziegler?
Yes.
Counselor DePaul?
Yes.
Counselor Ferrer?
Yes.
That's 6 members, 6 in the affirmative. The matter carries 6-0. I'd now like to recognize Counselor DiPaolo for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Rebecca Michaels to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court.
So moved, Lieutenant Governor, and Counselor Jacobs asked me to point out her strong support for this nominee as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Ziegler. Any other further comments or questions? Again, I know you've already held hearings on this. Seeing none, I'd ask Sonia to please call the roll.
Counselor DePaul?
Yes.
Counselor Ferrer?
Yes.
Counselor Civil?
Yes.
Counselor Dolan?
Yes.
Counselor Ianella?
Yes.
Counselor Ziegler?
Yes.
6 members voting, 6 in the affirmative. The matter carries. Next up, I'd like to recognize Counselor DiPaolo again for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Benjamin Mann to the position of Associate Justice in the Juvenile Court.
Likewise, Lieutenant Governor, Counselor Jacobs asked me to express her support for this nominee, and I offer that motion.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Civil. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, Sonia, if you could please call.
Counselor.
I'm so sorry.
I just want to note that Counselor Jacobs isn't here, but she held for the first time, we had a hearing at UMass Amherst. And it was a lovely opportunity for counselors to attend both in person and virtually to provide a hearing for that candidate. This would be the beginning of the council going out into the community and giving access to the public for the work that we're doing and understanding the importance of the Governor's Council and the process of appointing great judges. So I just wanted to call that out and thank fellow counselors for being involved and to publicly, for on the record, thank Counselor Jacobs for that initiative.
Great. Thanks, Counselors.
And just curious, I wasn't able to attend. How many people went, do you know, of the 8 of us?
2 of us attended
I'm
virtually.
talking.
There were 3 counselors. that were-
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for mentioning that, Counselor Ziegler, and as well, Counselor Ianella. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, ask Sonia to please call the roll.
Counselor DePaul?
Yes.
Counselor Ferrer?
Yes.
Counselor Civil?
Yes.
Counselor Dolan?
Yes.
Counselor Ianella?
Yes.
Counselor Ziegler?
Yes.
6 members voting, 6 in the affirmative. The matter carries. I think that concludes our business. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Ferrer, seconded by Counselor Dolan. All those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Stand.
start the hearing for the nomination of Elena to Associate Justice of Probate Family Court. First, I will read the letter from the Governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. Dear counselors, I am pleased to nominate Elena Tsizer to the position of Associate Justice of Probate and Family Court. I submit this nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Sincerely, Governor Maura Healey. Elena, congratulations on your nomination. And I want to introduce our counselors who are here today, some who are coming up shortly. We have Joseph Ferreira, we have Counselor Maura Dolan, we have Counselor Eunice Sigler, and Counselor Paul DiPaolo should be coming up soon. And can you please have your first witness come up, please?
Yes, please, Honorable Judge Jennifer Allen of the Massachusetts Appeals Court.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Sibyl, and all counselors for this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of this outstanding candidate for the Probate and Family Court, Attorney Elena Tsizer. I have known Elena for 15 years. We both had domestic relations practices in the Metro West area, a small, close-knit bar, who all knew each other and our respective reputations. Elena and I not only had cases together, representing separating spouses and co-parents, but I frequently saw her in court and observed her before the judges, interacting with peers or participating in mediation in probation. In the cases that we had together, Elena was knowledgeable of the law and practical in its application. She took no nonsense from her clients or from me. If discovery was requested, she sent it. If questions remained unanswered, she found the information and discussed the implications immediately and openly. She always returned phone calls and promptly scheduled hearings and depositions. She was as respectful of my practice and time as she was her own. She never played games, a refreshing ethical attribute in an area of the law where gamesmanship is too often brokered to the detriment of the court, case management, and ultimately clients. She strove to settle cases in practical terms that served families and the needs of her client. When we appeared in court on our cases, she presented with diligence but truthfulness. Throughout the counties, I observed her before many judges, and in each case, it was apparent that she knew her case and that she came to the court with a healthy mix of advocacy and desire to settle. In return, she received the respect and trust of the judges before whom she argued. When I was appointed to the probate bench in 2019, I was assigned to Middlesex County, and as a result, Elena appeared before me on dozens of occasions, including 2 multi-day complex trials. She was always prepared for any appearance. Her written submissions were clear and properly honed to the subject matter. She was ready to answer factual questions, and she took feedback from the court and settled cases when able. She is respectful of both the court and the needs of her clients. She has appeared for her paying clients and also in a pro bono capacity for many legal aid institutions, including Metro West Legal Services, an organization near and dear to my heart. Over the years, she aligned herself with outstanding mentors, honed her trial skills, and presented trials before me efficiently and persuasively. She understands evidence, domestic relations procedure, and trial strategy, and her post-trial submissions show that she understands the substance of the law. This past weekend, I was at a judicial conference with many of the justices in the Probate and Family Court. We were discussing our newest nominees, and I mentioned that I would be here today. Unprompted, one of the first justices told me that Elena had recently tried a case before her that included nuanced subject matter and that Elena had done, quote, a fantastic job, one of the best in the judge's recent memory. Counselors, I respectfully urge to confirm Elena's nomination. The judges of the probate court will receive a hardworking, motivated, knowledgeable colleague, and the people of this Commonwealth who come before the probate court at some of their most vulnerable times will receive a distinctly qualified and compassionate judge to guide them through their most difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselors, any questions?
I
Yes.
just wanted to thank you so much for coming to this. Your opinion means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to the counselors as well. Thank you.
It's wonderful to see you. Thank you.
Any other questions? And I just want to say that I'm happy to see Justice Allen today. And it was wonderful seeing you get sworn in. I know you are also, I chaired your hearing, and it's just great to see you again. So thank you. And if you can call your next witness, please.
Yes, thank you. And it's Attorney Gary Todd.
Thank you.
Difficult act to follow. I asked if I could please go first. Members of the Governor's Council, thank you. I'm truly honored to be here. I'm honored to speak on your behalf. I consider Elena called me once a mentor, and I have learned more from her than I've learned from many, many people. So thank you for asking me to come. I know Sasha and Boris must be terribly proud, because I'm proud of them. It's an honor to appear on behalf of Elena Tsizer, someone who I hold in the highest regard, for her candidacy for the Probate and Family Court. This is a court that I have had the pleasure of appearing before for the past 34 years, and a court that I hold in the highest regard. I am honored, and I say without reservation, I believe that Elena Tsizer has the qualities that we all look for in a judge. Elena is personable, she's patient, she's deeply compassionate, traits that are essential for anyone entrusted in deciding matters that touch families, children, and their futures. She maintains impeccable professionalism in all settings, whether in court, in negotiations, or in the hallway between hearings. She treats colleagues, clients, court staff, which is important, with courtesy and respect. Her temperament is calm and even-handed. She listens carefully before speaking, never reacts impulsively, and demonstrates the poise, judgment that inspire confidence in everyone in the courtroom. I've had the pleasure of working with Elena as co-counsel and working against her as opposing counsel. We've had many cases where we've been on the opposite side, and we've resolved all of them for the best interest of the families. We also had the opportunity and pleasure of, actually on 2 occasions, being co-counsel. And on one was an extraordinarily complex divorce case involving all aspects and facets of a divorce. And it was truly a pleasure to work alongside of Elena. And I got to watch her combine her legal skill with tremendous empathy, and I learned a great deal from her. And I believe that I'm a better lawyer having worked with her as her co-counsel. She's extraordinarily capable. She resolves cases. She looks to what is best for the family. Elena maintains her own law practice, as you well know, in Framingham, Massachusetts, focusing on family law and estate planning. Her practice, as I've seen firsthand, is organized, efficient, client-centered, a testament to her discipline and commitment to justice, and something that will be would be well suited on the bench, because she just brings that quality which is well needed on the bench. Beyond her private practices, Elena devotes substantial time to pro bono work, which is near and dear to my heart, and I know to everyone on the council. She regularly represents clients through Metro West Legal Services, the Women's Bar Foundation, and the Volunteer Lawyers Project. Her services reflect both compassion and a deep sense of professional duty to those most in need. Thank you for all of that work. I'm sure you are all aware that before Elena's legal career, Elena was a professional ballet dancer, performing at several distinguished Ukrainian companies. That early discipline and artistry are reflected in her approach to law, poised, graceful under pressure, and always striving for excellence. Members of the council, I did promise Elena that I would limit it to 3 minutes. When I have a microphone, I often run longer. But members of the council, Elena Tsizer embodies the qualities we seek in a judge: integrity and fairness, compassion and patience, intellectual rigor, and dedication to justice and community. She brings to the bench, if confirmed, not only extensive legal experience and deep understanding of family dynamics, but humanity, humility, and heart. For these reasons, I offer my unequivocal support of Elena Tsizer for the appointment to the Probate and Family Court. And I thank you truly for your time today.
Thank you so much.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, counselors? No.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in,
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
is there anyone in opposition? Having none, Elena, can you introduce your friends and family here today to support you?
Sure, thank you. Today, my esteemed witnesses, of course, and my daughter Sasha, my husband Boris, and my sisters at bar, Alana Brauvman and Natalia Bukhanova, our Chief Justice of the Probate and Family Court, Brian Dunn. Thank you for coming, and the great Chief Legal Counsel and Deputy Legal Counsel, Jesse Boudou, and Dara Casselheim.
Thank you so much. And now the floor is to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am deeply grateful to Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for the honor of this nomination. Heartfelt thanks to the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel, Jesse Boudou, and Deputy Legal Counsel, Dara Casselheim, Kimberly Baptiste, and every member of the Legal Counsel's Office for your guidance and support throughout this journey. Thank you to Sonia Altamirano and her team for shepherding me through this process. I sincerely appreciate my esteemed witnesses, the Judicial Nominating Committee for their crucial work, and every member of the Governor's Council for your time, thoughtful discussions, and dedication. Special thanks to my husband Boris and my daughter Sasha for your unwavering faith and support. To my friends near and far, in and outside of the legal profession, too many to name individually, I am truly blessed by your presence in my life. Thank you. I was born in Kiev, Soviet Ukraine, to a couple of recent university graduates. My dad was, at the time, and arguably is, an actor, although he graduated with an engineering degree. My mom was a piano concert master with the highest degree and an impressive resume of performances. Both just finished education, and neither was ready for a baby or marriage. Yet, due to exigent circumstances, which soon resulted in the birth of yours truly, they were quickly married. If asked, my parents might say that first 8 years of my life were challenging, but I remember only joyful times with them. When I was 8, my parents separated, and to spare me what they saw as potential trauma, I moved in with my maternal grandparents. Following the divorce, I rarely saw my mom, and even less my dad, who was only allowed to see me on my birthday and maybe once more in any given year. After the divorce, my father remarried and had my brother Nikita. In 1989, he and his family immigrated to the United States, settling in Philadelphia. My mother stayed in Kiev, later marrying her long-term partner in 2010. Lucky for me, both sets of my grandparents were getting along fairly well, and while living with my maternal grandparents, Peter and Irina, I grew up being surrounded and loved by the extended family. Driven by my dream to dance, I began classes at 6, and at 10 was accepted in the Ukraine's only ballet college. For 8 intense years, I trained 4 to 6 hours daily alongside regular studies, often from morning to evening. It was perhaps the most physically demanding period of my life, but it taught me discipline, perseverance, and gave me the chance to perform hundreds of times, each one a battle with fear, which I learned to overcome. After graduating in 1991, I began my career as a full-time dancer, eager for decades on stage. But on January 28, 1993, our tour bus crashed into a river in the Carpathian Mountains, killing both drivers and a friend. I survived with head wounds, broken ribs, and 3-day coma. Months later, back in Kiev, doctors discovered torn ligaments in my right foot, ending my dance career. Meanwhile, my father applied for my U.S. immigration. After I told my artistic director I wouldn't return for the 1993-94 season, my father shared that I could join him in Philadelphia. Ready to begin again, I chose to start over in the land of opportunity, United States. Though hopeful, I was anxious moving in with my dad, with whom I hadn't lived in 10 years, and his second family, with whom I never lived. I didn't speak the language, I didn't understand the customs, and I had no skills beyond dancing, which I could no longer pursue. In December 1993, Philadelphia greeted me with snow and free English classes for immigrants, which I attended daily for 6 months. By June 1994, I was working as a part-time bank teller and waiting tables. A few years later, my dad spotted an ad for a Russian-speaking secretary in a solo law firm and encouraged me to apply, so I did. That job introduced me to the legal profession. While working full-time, I earned my first American degree, an Associate of Science in Paralegal Studies from the Community College of Philadelphia, hoping to grow with the firm. I later pursued a bachelor's in journalism at Temple University to improve my English until life took an unexpected turn. In July 2001, my stepmom set me up on a blind date with a guy from Massachusetts. I didn't know it then, but I'd meet my best friend and future husband, Boris. His humor won me over that first night and still does. With his encouragement, I applied to law school. After finishing my degree at Temple, I moved to Framingham, Massachusetts in May 2002. After moving, I worked full-time at Daybearing Howard as a legal assistant while attending New England Law School at night, graduating cum laude in 2006. My first job as a lawyer was a judicial law clerk at the Probate and Family Court, where I discovered my passion for the field. Observing trials, drafting decisions, and working closely with judges gave me invaluable insight into the court's work and the complexities of human relationships it addresses. In the midst of my clerkship, Boris and I were blessed with our best creation. Our daughter Sasha was born. After 2 years as a clerk, I entered the difficult 2008 job market, and with encouragement from Boris and several judges, opened my solo practice in March 2009. While expanding into estate planning and probate, I earned Master of Laws in Taxation from Boston University in 2010. After working at 2 law firms from 2011 to 2014, I reopened my own practice, which I have run ever since, with Boris by my side, my constant support and partner. Sasha, I'm you over there, but your dad and I have always tried and will continue to strive until our last breath to be the best parents we can be. You are, without a doubt, our greatest and most important achievement. Your intelligent humor, kindness, and compassion make you my inspiration and my personal hero. You have certainly taken the best that each of us had to offer and took it to a whole different level. I learn from you every day, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do so. My life has been an incredible experience, a series of remarkable coincidences. Excuse me. Sprinkled with some challenges.
Take your time.
And a constant learning process, which is what I love about it. In my practice, I have been very lucky to have great clients, co-workers, opposing attorneys, judges, and a vast variety of cases. I have had the privilege of assisting my clients in getting out of a financial disaster, provided pro bono representation to indigent clients, and worked with the experts at the top of their respective fields, be it mental health, financial matters, custodial issues, guardianships, or a complex probate. It is a great honor to be here today. If confirmed, I will put all of my experiences as a child of divorced parents, an immigrant, a spouse, a parent, a lawyer, and a human being to serve the people of our Commonwealth. Thank you, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Elena. And we'll start off with Counselor Dolan with questions.
Thank you so much. I think you're absolutely wonderful. I do. Your story and your perseverance and your recognition of opportunity and all of your talents and all of your capabilities and what you've done with them are truly extraordinary and inspirational. And so I just thought you should know that.
Thank you.
I don't have many questions for you. I just want to talk about one thing, which is a controversial topic, parental alienation. Because some people say it doesn't exist. Everybody's just making it up. I find that a little hard to believe that everyone's making it up. But I would like to know what you would do as a judge, factors you would consider, how you would recognize parental alienation, and how you would respond to it, how you would try to remedy it or address it.
Certainly, thank you so much. And it's a very, I think it's a question that always lingers in every parent mind. What has been said behind my back to the child when I'm not around, especially in the divorce settings, in the controversial custodial matter. And there's certainly alienation, and the signs of it is probably what I would be looking at is how rapid is the reach between the relationship of the parent who's alleging alienation on the other side and the child. What is the age of the child? The child of smaller age is perhaps easier influenced than the child of an older age. Whether a guardian ad litem would be appropriate to appoint in this matter to give a window into factual analysis of this family and see what has been said. What does the child say? Depending on the age of the child, perhaps an attorney representing children may be of use. So there are all these tools that are available. And to address it, I think the first step would be maybe family, maybe individual, maybe a reunification therapy that would be appropriate. And perhaps bringing it in on a sooner status date to check on the progress and have a step-by-step plan for the family to see how can it be addressed. It may or may not be alienation, but if one parent is not being seen by the child, that needs to be addressed, whether or not alienation is present.
Maybe just one follow-up question on that. When do you think it's appropriate to appoint an attorney to represent a child?
Great question, because in the younger children, it might not be such a great idea, but when the child is in fact older and has its own schedule and has its own likes and dislikes, and perhaps medical needs, or perhaps scheduling needs that need to be addressed, but we're talking about teenagers who begin to have their own schedule rather than having the schedule of their parents set for them. So I think that would be more.
No further questions. I look forward to voting.
Thank you so much. Councilor Ferreira.
Thank you. Hello, nice to see you in person. You and I had a great conversation.
We did.
And I told you, like, you were a baby in my eyes.
Thank you.
And I mean that in the most respectful way, but you did do a whole lot in a short period of time. I mean, like, after 5 years of graduating from law school, you were chairing a conference with the top 25 cases to know in probate court. So what do you attribute your great rise at an early age?
Well, thank you, first of all, for the compliment.
It is.
It is, and I have to say, if I didn't have my great supporters, the two of my biggest fans here, Boris and Sasha, I don't know how far I would have gone. They certainly give me a lot of inspiration and believing in me. I think I just wanted to see how far I can go. A girl who was born in Ukraine came here with no language. I just wanted to see how far I can push the envelope, I guess. And that's, and I wanted to see if I can volunteer my time and I can, once I gathered all those skills, whether I could use them for something that the people who may need my, legal services the most may need. So I always volunteered the time for MCLE. I volunteered the time for pro bono work. I just feel like this is my sort of obligation and a privilege to be able to do that. So I always felt that this was a compelling enough reason for me to do that.
You've overcame a lot of obstacles in your life. You have incredible work ethic. And I can tell you have a great heart. We had a great conversation about parents having shared physical custody whenever possible. I think you're going to be a very compassionate and thoughtful judge, and I'm going to vote for you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ferreira. Councilor Ziegler.
Thank you, Counselor. Congratulations on your nomination. I want to say that your counselor spoke very, very highly of you, your experience, as a strong supporter. So I want to put that out there and on record. We had a lovely conversation as well. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and talk to me about your journey and your hopes for the bench. And so I want to bring some of that conversation to the forefront in this public forum. Can you talk a little bit more about what you see as the most pressing issues?
Well, certainly, every lawyer and every judge will agree with me that, there are, many cases, not enough, sort of, I know the stretch of the time when the case takes sometimes have been named as the problem. But I know that with most recent adding to the additions to the bench, I hope that that will, I certainly have seen improvement, so I hope that that would be a much bigger improvement. But in my practice, what I have seen is I have a lot of clients who are not English-speaking clients, and securing an interpreter has been a challenge. So I see it as an access to justice issue, because the interpreters that are available, they are scheduled in several courts at once. So perhaps there could be a better way of maybe bringing them in by Zoom, etc. So that what I would see as an access to justice. Those are what comes to mind now, but hopefully it's on its way to mending the issues with more judges being on the bench and more staff available.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. I know in our conversation, you'd said a phrase that I've heard before, but it was very poignant in the time: justice delayed is justice denied, relative to how the court approaches these cases. And you were very diligent in your strategy, if you would, how you would approach expediting cases. Can you talk a little bit more about that? During our conversation, we talked about the difficulties of, cases that come before the probate court, and how sometimes there are delays for various reasons, but as a judge, you have some power in terms of making sure that these cases are heard at an appropriate time period.
Thank you so much for this question, and it certainly, we had, for instance, what I meant is justice delayed is justice denied is when, as an example of not seeing the child, if it lasts a year, then it's a much greater damage than it's a few weeks or months. So certainly in cases where it's warranted, I feel bringing the case back for status conference, or bringing the case, scheduling, we already have scheduling next event when the case is in front of the judge, scheduling next event. So I feel all of these changes are pointed towards actually managing the cases appropriately, so they're not lingering, so they're not, lost in the shuffle, so to speak. And the cases, we now have a new standing order, which I know everyone is now following, with grouping the trial days together. So that would certainly improve the ability to move cases through the court system in the efficient manner. I wouldn't say it as quickly as possible, because not every case warrants that, but in the efficient manner.
I appreciate that. And, it's clear to me that, your priority is the children, right? That would be part of these, proceedings. And that's very key, because the children are so vulnerable, and anything that you could do in terms of coordinating things ahead of time, addressing issues in advance with counsel, help to alleviate some of the trauma that, the children may experience with being in the court. My last question is a question I ask of most candidates, because I feel it's eye-opening as to what type of judge you would be on the bench, and that is, what legacy would you like to lead?
Thank you very much for that question. It's very deep. Certainly, I'd like to be known as a, all of the great qualities of the judge, is a smart judge, fair judge. But also someone who was compassionate and who was always allowed an opportunity for somebody to be heard. I understand that and hear them. I understand that not every case is going to turn out best, the way that the person wants to have it concluded. But as long as the decision is well reasoned and the person feel heard and respected in the court, I believe that that's the legacy that I would like to leave. I'd like to be a judge who was compassionate and who heard people, and people felt and heard people and made people understand that they were heard.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Counselor Ziegler. I don't have any questions, but I do have a semi-short statement. And Elena, what I can tell you is that your determination and drive is unmatched. And I also want to thank the governor for having the eye to identify nominees who will represent the communities that they are going to be serving. I also want to say that Massachusetts is one of the best states to live in. It's because that we have leaders in positions to make sure that they're impacting the lives of people each and every day. We had an opportunity to sit down and talk. And as I stated before to my previous hearing, if we could stay longer, we would. When we talked about your personal experience, your professional experience, and what got you to this point, when we say the American dream, we don't say it lightly. You are an example of the American dream. And I want our constituents and people to know that as counselors, we don't just, we're not just rubber stamps, but we really look into the lives of the nominees that we choose to vote for, to make sure that they're representing what it means to be a beacon of light. When we talked about your experience, you served as a probate family court. You came from Ukraine with little to no English. You learned the English language. You put yourself through college with the help of and support of your husband, of course. You worked hard. You understand what it means to be an immigrant. You understand what it means to how difficult it could be to navigate the system, or let alone the legal system, without understanding the English language of what is presented to you. You've represented women who have battled domestic violence. We talked about women who come to this country, right, and don't have any family, but their partner or spouses put them in a situation where they're alienated. And you know what alienation means because you had your own personal experience, your grandparents taking you in when your mother was not in a position at the time to take care of you. And, I don't take that lightly because our conversation, I left something with. And I can honestly say that after our conversation, I thought about you the rest of the couple of days that I had because of how compelling your story was. You wanted to be a ballerina, but that was cut short for you, right? Driving to Italy and your bus flipped over and you were in a coma for 3 days. And you were able to jot down and look at your journal to just keep a record of your life and what happened, to keep that sense of understanding and your purpose. But you didn't let that take it away. It wasn't taken away from you because you were determined and you had a drive to do more and to excel. And, I really believe that what you went through had set you up to be where you are now, so that you could be an example not only for your family, but for those who come to this country with little to nothing, who want to participate and give back to what was never given to them. And you've worked, you worked with the Innocent Project, learning about DNA, learning about the wrongly convicted. And I'm very confident that you will be a great judge on the probate and family court. I truly believe that you have the experience, not only professionally, but personally, to understand those who are coming before you. You will make sure that you will uphold the law and the rule of law to make sure that everyone is being treated fairly, and to understand that that those who don't speak the first language, that they have interpreters, English as a first language, have interpreters available before you pursue the case, and that they understand. So I am very grateful to be here in front of you, not only to chair this hearing, but to vote for you, to let you know that you deserve to be in the seat. And I just want to thank you for putting your hat in the ring and being an example of what it means to be the American dream. So congratulations. It is now 1:38, and we will adjourn this hearing.